Tech YouTuber MrWhoseTheBoss has gone viral with his video claiming that Google search is falling apart. But is he right? And more importantly, what isn't he telling you? I'm Mark Webster and I've worked in SEO for 16 years. I've sold multiple businesses, worked with hundreds of clients, and taught over 15,000 people how to master SEO. Today, I'm reacting to this video and exposing what he got wrong and what he barely scratched the surface of. So let's get started.
Google search has become a lot worse than you think.
It has gotten a lot worse.
Let's say how to secure my data.
Wait, is this a VPN ad? Are we going to be sponsored by NordVPN? Surfshark. Ah, I thought so. Okay.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 adverts.
Yeah, I mean, it says sponsored right next to it. I think most people know that there are links in Google that are paid for. That's kind of how they make almost all of their money, actually. It gets much worse on some other pages now that you have these AI overviews at the top. It's just pushing people's content further and further down.
Imagine if you clicked on one of our YouTube videos and I chose to start with 4 sponsored ads before I even got into the content.
Hold up. Like, comparing this to YouTube, I don't think that's very good. Like, you have ads at the start of videos if you don't have a YouTube premium account. So I don't really see how this is any different.
But I've been noticing more and more over the last few years, things starting to feel a little off.
A little off? Really? You've just started noticing that? It's been going downhill for years. We got AI overviews this year, which spouted out all sorts of nonsense. That's not even one of the worst things Google's done. They've been systematically driving less clicks to publishers and pushing their own properties and companies that they've invested in. I mean, they've just been ruled a monopoly in the US. It's like, it's not a great company.
I've done a deep dive, no thanks to Google, and I found 3 major reasons as to why Google search is not just in decline, but
SEO in the crosshairs. I like it.
The way that they started this results page is the first.
Interesting.
Like, look at this again. Do you notice something? Because aside from the fact that 4 ads before your content feels almost violating.
Violating? Really? It's like, it's been like that for a long time. I wouldn't really call that violating. That's a pretty extreme classification.
It's even worse is when you consider something called the fold.
So this is a great description of what the fold is. I love whoever's edited this video. One thing to note is it's not just the ads that are above the fold here. Below this blue line, this first answer here with these 6 bullet points, that's called a featured snippet. Now, Google has taken the content from this website, from chub.com, it looks like, and just put it on the search engine results page. So some people will be able to get the content from that website without ever visiting that website. Google's been doing this for many, many years now, before the AI overviews even came into it. So this has been a long-term trend that they're trying to move towards this zero-click environment.
Now, newspapers never got to a stage of having so much power that they could regularly afford to stick big adverts across their fold.
Exactly, because they're not a monopoly that pays Apple $20 billion per year to be the default search engine on iOS, so that everybody in the world that uses an iPhone automatically uses Google and thus becomes a monopoly.
This company used to pride themselves specifically on how quickly their search engine finds you an accurate answer. But now you're either...
I mean, it is pretty damn fast, even still.
Having to specifically invest more time just to scroll past their ads, or trust that the ads have what you want.
Oh yeah, this is true. So it takes much longer to scroll through all that nonsense, find what you really want. So this is why younger people today that weren't brought up and indoctrinated on Google are not using it. They go to Instagram to find restaurant recommendations or TikTok to find product recommendations. And speaking of finding great product recommendations, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Search Intelligence. They've created the world's first digital PR ideation tool to help you find that inspiration for your next campaign. With their new tool, idiot.online, all you have to do is give it your site's domain name, and within seconds, you've got a ton of great ideas for your next digital PR campaign. This tool is trained with data from Search Intelligence's successful campaigns, and honestly, it's pretty good. We tried it with our domain Authority Hacker, and the tool accurately picked out a few of our site's main topics and dozens of suggestions for our next digital PR campaign. This is actually a huge time saver, as it's already been tried and tested for you. Even if you don't use the exact suggestion, it's sure to spark some creative inspiration, and you only need one good idea for this to work. Making a creative PR campaign has never been easier. Now let's get back to the video.
A decade ago, these sponsored links used to be highlighted in yellow, indicating to the user in a very obvious way that these aren't organic search results, so that you could just filter them out. And sometimes they were in their own cordoned off section to the right of the results. Not anymore. Now the sponsored search results look exactly like the genuine search results.
Okay, this is a little bit disingenuous here. So first of all, yes, they did used to have that yellow box around it, and yes, they used to have sidebar ads. Google's a business, right? They're going to try and optimize to get the most amount of clicks to these ads and make the most amount of money. Right? That's what they do. The search engine's free to use, in case we don't remember. So it's not really that big of a deal that they're selling ads. Like, they have to make money somehow. I don't necessarily agree that it's a lot less obvious. He is using a dark mode screenshot here. So the white sponsored text at the top, it doesn't seem to stand out that much. But if you look at it on a white background, that sponsored text is pretty bold. Like, it's much more bolded than the regular text on the results page.
And all of that is just for when you're searching for answers. Look what happens when you start searching for products. So I've been doing a lot of searching recently for a new chair.
Okay, who, when they're trying to buy a chair, just goes to Google and searches chair? Can you maybe be a bit more descriptive?
These product listings are taking up more real estate on the results page.
That's true. And Google's also got this refine results bar at the side. Whenever you click on one of those, it will filter the results on the search page, and then that's going to generate another impression of these sponsored ads, meaning that Google makes more money from the advertisers every time you do that. So they're really trying to milk everybody here. It's not just us, the end user.
I do a lot more internet shopping than most people. For one video, sometimes we're buying 20 products. And so while this one is more of a feeling and it's a little harder to prove, it is really starting to feel like with shopping, Google is specifically making the organic search results bad to make the best way to shop directly from the ads.
So you have to be careful here, because it's a pretty strong accusation. Now, if Google wanted to do this, if they wanted to be evil, make their organic results worse to boost their ads, they could, right? They have the power, and there's very little oversight, even very few people within Google that actually know how the entire algorithm works. Like, it's a really closely guarded secret, even within the company. I think it would come out eventually if they were doing this, and it would cause them all manner of problems with the government, which is something they're trying to avoid right now.
Whenever I'm searching for something specific, like let's say I was trying to find the thinnest mini fridge to fit a particular space in my room. Thinnest mini fridge.
Very, very specific
look at that.
query
Something that
here.
completely fits the description I've typed.
Okay.
A fridge that's not too big and is thin. So the sponsored results are spot on. Google clearly understands what I'm looking for. So what happens when I scroll down and look at the organic results? Okay, first up is Amazon.
Oh, hold on. So this is an Amazon page for lightweight mini fridges. It's not a page for thin fridges. So looking down the Amazon page, trying to find the thing you're looking for, this is not Amazon's fault. Like, this page is serving what it's supposed to. This is purely on Google, this one.
This is puzzling, right? Like, surely Google, with its current level of intelligence and review data, has the ability to take me straight to the single best rated product for exactly what I'm looking for. And yet,
so that's not entirely false. However, it's a question of resources, right? The amount of ads there are, the amount of products being advertised is tiny, like a tiny, 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 tiny fraction compared to the amount of pages there are on the internet. We're dealing with huge volumes of computation and doing stuff that's very, very difficult, resource intense, and has to be done quickly. It's just a question of resources and economics more than anything else here.
Does it not seem a little like Google's playing dumb? The difference between how tack sharp they are with making sure that the sponsored recommendations are spot on, but then at the very least not putting that same effort into their organic results.
I mean, this is a pretty good example where you have what's called split search intent in a query. That means if you're searching for one thing, it has multiple meanings, right? It's like the earlier query where he went and searched for chair. Like, how is Google supposed to know you want to buy a chair? Maybe you want to build a chair or learn about the history of chairs or how chairs are made. Like, there's many ways you can go with this. That's why just being even a little bit more specific by searching for, was this like a phone case or something, like passion fruit phone case? I'm sure all the organic results would be the passion fruit phone case.
Google has your attention, and they're making more money now by making more from your attention. Google's dream situation is that every company realizes that if they want to sell, they have to pay Google to be part of the sponsored buying section. And I can't shake the feeling that they are trying to create this pay-to-win environment.
I mean, it is a pay-to-win environment, but they have to be careful, because if it's just pay-to-win, then the product search goes to shit and people stop using it. So they're obviously going to try and balance those two things. They want to make as much money as possible while making the product good enough that people continue using it.
This sponsored shopping segment is now not just a way to get a little bit of a visibility boost. It's been designed to be the only easy way for users to shop on Google.
I mean, do people like shop properly on Google like that? I mean, I hear these days more people go to Amazon direct to search for stuff because Google's not good at doing this. Like it's much easier when you own the entire ecosystem, right? Google doesn't own these websites. It has to deal with different technology, different review systems, different ways people are creating their pages. It's just a harder job to do.
So let's go back to chairs, but this time, world's most comfortable chair. As expected, the shopping carousel is filled with exactly the kinds of things I'm looking for.
Does that green chair look super comfortable? I'm not sure. Yeah, I was expecting more lazy boy style chairs here, but
with links to buy them. But then scroll down and most of the search results are just articles, list-based articles, which is a separate, very big problem that I'm getting to. So I nearly thought for a second, oh, this is a good result. That looks like a very comfortable chair for £75. And then you scroll down and you see, this item is available for adoption.
I mean, I've never heard of chairs being adopted. Maybe animals in like a zoo or a charity or situation. That's kind of weird. This is honestly, this is bizarre. Like why this would be at
Google
the top
doesn't
here.
even seem to care if it takes you to scam sites. So many times when I've been browsing for what furniture might go into our future home, we are recommended sites like LitFad in this sponsored carousel. Okay, so LitFad reviews, Trustpilot's at the very top, and warning. This company's trust score is currently unavailable due to a breach of Trustpilot's guidelines.
Okay, we have to be a bit careful here because it's very easy for someone on YouTube to say something is a scam. People throw around this word scam for any product or service which isn't impeccable, right? But there are situations where there are companies that are not trying to scam you. They're not stealing money from you, stealing your credit card details and not sending you products. Like there are genuine scams out there like that. And we need to differentiate a scam from just a bad product, service, or company. LitFad, I don't think it's a scam. I think it's a bad company based on these reviews.
It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to see that this is a scam company. I don't see any way that Google wouldn't know that there are companies like this that they are actively promoting.
All right, actively promoting is maybe a strong word here. It's not like Google's making a YouTube video that's sponsored by LitFad saying they promote it. Google does have to walk a fine line though, because if all of the ads and all of the content that they're promoting ends up being, not very good, then it's going to turn users away. They also have to be very careful about making decisions themselves about what's legit or what's a scam, because very quickly you start getting into a political view where you have the situation of Google potentially saying, oh, we don't like what's written on the right or on the left, so we're not going to show that. Then they get hauled in front of Congress and have to answer some very difficult questions. They kind of want to give it quite a wide berth here, and that's why you do see a lot of these more unscrupulous companies advertising. Also because if you don't have a great product and you're not getting a lot of word of mouth recommendation, then advertising is about the only way you can market your product. So it makes sense that when something's being advertised very heavily, it's not necessarily the best product.
Then correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to be corrected. Or at the very least, promise that you're working to fix this. But it sure looks like right now, as long as a company pays, it doesn't actually matter whether they're a scam or not. They go right to the top.
This actually gets a lot worse than you think, because it's not just Google doing this, by the way. It's Facebook and all the other big platforms out there. There are a lot of companies out there spending millions of dollars a month on ads that are, let's say in this context, borderline scams. The problem is if Google and Meta and all these other platforms get really good at stopping these people from advertising, they make a lot less money themselves. So they have to be seen to taking a strong stance against it while, maybe letting some of it slip through. That's kind of the optimal position from a purely kind of game theory perspective. Now, this whole industry is really like a wild west of mavericks out there trying to get ad accounts that they can use until they get banned, then they'll switch to another one. But if Facebook or Google really wanted to stop it, they could just put in some rule where you could no longer advertise towards a domain that had been found to be in breach of their rules, but they don't do that. There's an entire industry of people buying and selling ad accounts to just churn and reuse until they get banned. And for sure, this contributes to a portion of the stock valuations of these big companies.
These companies, their entire business model is basically people accidentally clicking on them.
It did. It always worked like that. There was many situations actually where companies would make fake bank websites and then they would bid on the bank keywords and they would essentially steal your login details and then go into your account, take all your money away. Google put a stop to that and they were very easily able to do that, yet they don't seem to be willing to take action on anything which isn't actually scamming people.
You know, there was a time when Google would receive actual fan mail with checks and cash inside from people saying, we love your product and you deserve to be making more money than you are. And that's because of the founders.
Start a GoFundMe for Sundar Pichai.
Specifically said, advertising income often provides an incentive to provide poor quality search results. We believe the issue of advertising causes enough mixed incentives that it is crucial to have a competitive search engine that is transparent and in the academic realm.
Did the founders of Google really say that? That's fascinating because it really goes against what they're doing right now.
In Q2 2024, Google made $84.7 billion in revenue.
A lot of money.
76.3% of which came from ads.
Yeah, so I mean, this is their cash cow through and through. They make almost all their money from it. If it goes away, if it gets affected, they will cease to exist as a company. The rest of Google's ecosystem cannot support it on its own. They need this money and they need this money coming through. That's why they're working so hard to retain it, even as interest in search in Google declines.
And then even for searches where there's no product to sell you and there's no company paying to sponsor it, what does Google do? Try to push their own services and their own initiatives.
That's true.
How many people are there on Earth? 7.951 billion.
Interesting example.
Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm looking for a quick answer to a simple question, I appreciate how Google just goes, here you go. But in 2024, this is not the right answer.
I mean, this isn't really that bad, first of all. I mean, they say 2022 right there at the start on the first page, and they're trying to create a relatively up-to-date featured snippet. I don't know how or why they haven't updated this data since then. Google's not really doing anything wrong here. It's trying to serve its users and give it the information in a featured snippet. The same way you go to Google and you search for weather in your city, right? You get the weather because that's all you really care about. Is it going to rain today or not? Where this gets particularly egregious, though, is in things like travel. So if Google's flights or Google hotels comes up first above a hotel website or booking.com or one of these other ones, then yes, you could argue that Google is, using its power and its monopoly to profit.
Google's search results page is starting to look an awful lot like an old 2000s web portal, which is ironic because one of the biggest reasons that Google actually beat Yahoo to become the world's de facto e-library was because they specifically didn't try to be one.
100%. This is like, if you went back into 1996 and tried to search for anything, the websites were terrible. There was so much crap on them that you had to navigate through and get distracted with. There were ads on the Yahoo homepage, like right above the search bar. You don't have that on the Google homepage. It was new, right? Nobody was doing that at the time.
But it's at this stage into my deep dive that I came to my second realization that while Google has fallen from grace, changed who they are, and started to put the user's experience second, it's not all Google's fault. A lot of what's been making it so hard to find the right webpage these days is also down to the people making them. If you work online in any capacity, really, or you just have really boring friends.
Okay, thank you.
Of search engine optimization, or SEO. SEO has become a massive industry with a market size valued at 1.8 billion in 2022, projected to reach 7.1 billion in 2028.
I don't know it's growing so fast. If you talk to anyone in SEO these days in 2024, there's not too much good news going around, unfortunately.
About analyzing the way that Google's algorithm ranks pages, and then employing various tricks to make your page look as good as possible to that algorithm so that you get placed higher and therefore clicked more.
There's some stuff to unpack here. We're employing tricks, are we, to rank higher? I mean, what's the difference between you, Mr. YouTuber, making a thumbnail or a title for your video that has high CTR than an SEO trying to optimize a page for the algorithm? It's the exact same thing you're doing. So I don't call it tricks. It has this derogatory connotation to it. I think you're trying to paint a narrative here. Yeah, this is pot calling kettle black, I'm afraid.
As the algorithm has changed, so have the kind of tricks you see being used.
So as the algorithm changes, people adapt, because yes, people want to rank highly on Google. That's what they're trying to do. They do what works, is what you're saying. Okay.
Your visibility just by having lots of reviews associated with your business, even if those reviews are negative, which led to, for instance, a scam in which a man named Vitaly Borker deliberately sent damaged or fake glasses to customers, hoping they would be angered enough to review bomb him, knowing that it would promote his site.
What? This makes no sense. Like, businesses do not actively try and get negative reviews. That's not an SEO play in any way. I'm sorry, I got to look this one up and see what's actually going on. All right, so I found this guy's Wikipedia page. It is a really long page, actually. And what's happened here is back in 2010, if you look at the screenshots on the video, actually, they're from 2009 to 2010. I'm not sure why he's presenting this as if it's like a current thing, but in 2010, they were using physical violence, abuse, poor service, and overcharges as a way to get more negative reviews. They had a 1.39 out of 10 lifetime rating on one website, reseller ratings. However, what was actually going on, it wasn't the fact that there were bad reviews that did this. It was the fact that back then, review websites would often link to the product website at the same time. So the more reviews that were generated, the more links were created. Now, almost every review site on the planet will apply these days a tag called nofollow, which means it's telling Google, hey, we're going to link to that website because we have to, but don't count it. We don't trust it. We don't want to send positive signals that way. So it's really difficult to game this with negative reviews these days. In fact, I would go as far as to say it's impossible to do this now, and it has been for 10 plus years.
Sites including Buzzwords to capture as many possible search queries as you can think of.
Buzzwords.
That's why so many AliExpress listings have incomprehensible names that are just...
This is showing a very limited understanding of what SEO is and how it works. What he's talking about here is something called keyword stuffing. That's when you try and put as many keywords on a page in order to rank for those terms, right? This was how people used to do SEO back in like 2004. It hasn't worked for decades now. He's also not even talking about Google. He's talking about people doing this on, was it Alibaba or some e-com site? That's not even them optimizing for Google SEO. It's them optimizing for Alibaba's internal algorithm. So if someone goes on the search page there, they want to be included for children gifts or whatever they're trying to target here. This isn't a Google problem. This is a search problem on Alibaba specifically. So talking about something completely different, and I think it's a little bit disingenuous here, I'm afraid.
And it's why articles like recipes, which should be so simple, have to start off with paragraphs of preamble about how grandma always made the best cozy warm winter autumn cookies 2024.
This is a great example. Like, if you've ever tried to find a recipe online, end up with 750 words about the history of lasagna before your freaking lasagna recipe, it's super annoying, right? You're trying to scroll down there, find out, oh, is this the ad or is this the recipe? And they kind of trick you in a way. It sucks. Google has created an environment where in order to rank, you have to create all this extra content on your recipe. Otherwise, it can't really tell the difference between the recipes, and it doesn't know who to put there. So, of course, what do recipe creators do? They write all this content, and then everybody else writes this content, and then that becomes the norm. And that's Google's fault 100%, and it sucks. I agree.
So many times I've been browsing the best X products of 2024, and I'll slowly realize as I scroll through the list that not a single one is from 2024. The website is effectively trying to scam me by recommending old products that make no sense today. They'll have erased all mentions of it being written in 2021 or 2022, and as far as Google's rules are concerned, if an article has been edited in 2024, it's now a 2024 article.
Okay. This is a big problem, and I gotta hold my hands up here. Like, I feel partly responsible. We have made content about the process of updating old content. Again, though, if you don't do it and your competitors are, you're just not going to be as competitive of them. So Google has created this environment where they do not punish sites that do this.
Especially those with lots of ads on their pages, trying everything they can to rank really highly for searches that are totally unrelated to their brand, because they know it'll get them lots of clicks and lots of revenue. Like, why does Forbes have so many articles on supplements? Well, because supplement ads pay a lot of money. But
this is true. So sites are basically using their high authority and publishing all sorts of affiliate reviews about anything they can in order to rank for these keywords and make a ton of money in commissions. The problem is that there's been this trend recently where Google is favoring these high authority sites because it can apparently trust them, although can it really? And then that's to the detriment of the small independent publishers who sometimes go really far and review these products, these supplements very thoroughly, like they know what they're talking about. Forbes specifically is a particularly egregious case. We did a video on them a couple weeks ago now, and there's a company called Forbes Advisor or Forbes Marketplace, I think it is, within Forbes, and they are responsible for doing all of these affiliate plays. Forbes itself owns a percentage of Forbes Advisor or Marketplace or whatever it's called, and there's even been evidence that this entity is now running the same play on, I think it was CNN and USA Today, and there's a bunch of others. It's a real dark kind of underbelly of affiliate marketing and this whole world here, but it's all Google's fault because they allow it to happen on their search results pages.
Only companies who are pumping out this much content and paying to boost their visibility as much as possible are the ones with a monetary incentive to do so. And the way they do that is being flooded with affiliate links.
So they make a lot more money with affiliate links rather than ads on their site. So, I mean, obviously they're going to do that. It's the easiest way. They don't have to take inventory of the product and do all these other kind of things. They can just recommend someone else's product and make a cut of that.
Searching for the best of basically anything is pointless. Almost every single article is a top 10 of products, not selected based on their merit, but in fact just whether or not they'll get a kickback when you buy them.
It is. I almost always go to Reddit when I'm looking for actual people's advice, or YouTube, in fact, can also be quite good, though there are some problems there as well.
I can guarantee that a large slice of these articles are written with the writer not actually having bought and tested all 10 products themselves, but instead having gone onto Amazon, searched for the highest rated products, ideally expensive ones so they can make more from the affiliate links, and spent 1 hour max compiling them into a list.
100%. So, I mean, it's not too far away from a process we've taught in affiliate marketing before. I like to do things a much higher quality way. Of course, if you can get the product in your hand, review the product, it's going to be much better. But the path of least resistance for some keywords is going to be to do this. Now, use AI to help you do all of this, and you can really churn out a lot of content quite quickly. And people have made tens of millions of dollars doing exactly this, and it's not too complicated. So, of course, more and more people do it. It shits up the results, and then yeah, we can't find anything we're looking for when we want a good review.
Spamming that list with buzzwords to try and capture as many people as possible.
Okay, I'm sorry. This again is SEO from 20 years ago. Some sites do go through a process where they try and add in relevant keywords to an existing article. And the idea there is that Google will think you're more relevant towards a bigger array of keywords, and then you get more traffic, because not everyone just goes to Google and searches for chair to find a chair. Like, it's not done like this in a big list, though. It'll be done much more subtly. And a lot of the time, you won't even know that it's happening because it's just built into the language more naturally.
If a page is ranking high and it's getting lots of clicks, and those people end up on that page for ages, scrolling through the mire of deliberately vapid text interlaced with ads to find the actual answer they came for, then the algorithm figures, hey, they spent a long time there. That must be good.
No. In theory, it could work like that, but in practice, if you don't find the thing you're looking for on a page within a few seconds, you're clicking back and you're going to find another result. We have a tool called Microsoft Clarity, and it literally takes screen recordings of how people navigate around our site. And I sit there and watch them some days, and it's fascinating. People have zero patience for this stuff. If they can't find it, they're gonna go away. So you can't trick Google into giving you higher user engagement metrics by having bad content. You need to serve them something quickly.
And one thing that I find is a really unfortunate side effect of this constant arms race between Google and then these slimy growth at all costs sites is that every time Google updates their algorithm to counter the new strategies, it's most of the genuinely good, worthwhile sites that don't keep up with the times and just focus on making good content. Those are the ones who get buried, like mom and pop air purifier review site, housefresh.com. Who actually do test the products, unlike the top 10 listicle magazines who don't.
Yeah, basically the last year of SEO has all centered around this. The helpful content update from September 2023 meant that most independent publishers who are low and even medium authority sites, they lost a lot of traffic, like in some cases 95% of their traffic, and many businesses, many people's livelihoods were wiped out from this. It was all because Google turned up the dial and said, we can't tell the difference between good and bad quality content, thanks partly to AI. So we're going to rely purely on high authority sites. So then all of these sites were like, oh yeah, bonanza, we can publish whatever we want and rank for all these affiliate keywords, make tons of money. So then that all goes to shit. And now Google's like, well, actually, we shouldn't really incentivize this too much. We want smaller players who are creating great content like HouseFresh, who were literally testing these air purifiers with all sorts of scientific experiments, publishing these graphs and these data. Whereas Forbes or CNET or whoever it was, they would just send a few of these to some of their staff. They'd take them home for the weekend and they just write a couple paragraphs about what they thought. It wasn't really any more sophisticated than that. You're always going to have this problem, though, where the big players have these innate advantages because of their resources and capabilities. As a small publisher, it's really difficult to focus on making tons of great content and reviews and whatever else you do while still keeping up with all these algorithm updates and what Google wants. And many of the times, even if you know what's happening, there's literally nothing you can do within your resources and capabilities to affect it. And that's a problem.
You've probably noticed an increasing number of these AI overviews when you're searching for things coming up. And you've probably also noticed they're not very accurate.
I want to be clear here. When Google rolled out AI overviews in early 2024, a handful of particularly egregious examples that made all the newspapers, got loads of publicity. So Google scaled back their implementation. They had less of these AI overviews. They rolled them back significantly. And largely, they've done a good job. They've gotten much better. And you don't see any complaints about them anymore, despite the fact that they're very widespread, and they've now rolled them out to other countries, including the UK now, where I live, because they're happy that they're working as intended.
How does that help all the sites that have helped to first gather that info? The sites who've done the work, researching and publishing the content that it seems like Google is using to train their AI? Answer? It doesn't.
Exactly. It does not help content creators when Google steals, for want of a better word, their content to train their AI and then presents what is essentially derived from a content creator's original works. It presents Google's LLM's understanding of what that is as if it's its own thing. Occasionally, yes, they do reference the creator and the source, but very few people click through to that, and they're only referencing one source, and even if they've used you, they don't always reference you. And it's not just Google that does this. All of the major AI platforms are scraping whatever data they can, trying to train their models to get ahead. Whoever has the least kind of safeguards and creator-friendly setup for this will have the biggest advantage in terms of they'll have more data for their model. This is also why Google and other companies are making private deals with places like Reddit and other social networks where people hang out and say things, generate content, talk about things, because if they can use this data to train their models, they're going to have a significant advantage over companies who do not have access to that, because Reddit has blocked most other AI companies from crawling this. Whether those companies comply with that request or not is a completely different question, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
What's to stop Google from deciding to use its AI to eventually replace the need to visit any other website? So you spend your entire browsing session within Google's search page itself.
I love it. It's such a British thing, like Heinz baked beans varieties. To answer this question, there's zero things stopping Google from doing this. What we're talking about here is Rand Fishkin called it a zero-click web, which is when you search for something on Google, you get the results on there. You don't have to click through to the pages of the creators, right? It's a bad situation if you are one of those website owners, because you will have no traffic and your business will go to shit. Google has to be careful, though, because if they do not allow an environment where creators are creating anything, then they'll have less data to train their models on, and that can become a sort of reverse vicious cycle.
An idea coined by Cory Doctorow called gentrification, which I talk about fully in this video here. And it's effectively where online services start off by enticing users with a high quality product. When the users are locked in, they make it worse for them to better serve their business customers. And then finally, once both sides are locked in, they start shafting all of them to maximize profits for themselves. By which point, oops, we don't have a desirable product anymore.
This is exactly what Google and every other platform on the internet, Google, Uber, Airbnb, they all do this same thing. It's how you should optimize a business if your only goal is towards your shareholders and to make profit. The challenge is if you become so dominant in your marketplace like Google has or some of these other big tech companies have, that you're essentially a monopoly and it's very difficult to compete against you for new entrants to get into the marketplace, then you can make your product really, really shit and no one else can do anything about it because they can't get in. They can't get in to compete against you. So I don't know what Google's long-term play is. Like, do they still believe people are going to search for stuff and want to go to other websites, or do they believe that they can provide all of the information within Google without users having to go through other websites? I don't know. That's obviously going to affect their ad model in could be a positive way. There could also be some negative sides to that though as well, if people stop using Google as much. And there is a trend away from it. Younger people are not using Google as much. People are going to AI and other places to find information now, or they're just going direct to places like Amazon to find products, for example. So Google really has to protect its monopoly, as it were, here. And if they try to cash in too much on this too quickly, there's a risk that this flight away from using Google becomes more severe, and then it can create real problems for the company long term.
Now, if you do want the web experience before all of this certification back, then I recommend you install Surfshark VPN.
Okay, now we're back to the VPN. So for someone that doesn't know SEO, this is a great video. And I got to thank the guy for making this so well publicized and well known to the general public. It's great that big YouTubers are starting to take note of what's actually happening at Google. I hope that we get more people doing deep dives and investigations into what's going on here. It's only going to help shed more light on what's really happening and help make it a better environment for all creators. And if you're new here, at the end of each video, we have a fiery debate of the week. And today, we're asking, is Google intentionally sabotaging their own search results, or are they just incompetent? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. We do read them all. And while you're there, be sure to grab our free swipe file of successful digital PR campaigns. It's full of over 50 tried and tested campaigns that you can replicate to supercharge your SEO. And if you like this video, go back and watch this one right here about how Google became a monopoly.